Hi my loves, and welcome to today's video. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. In this video, we're going to touch on the topic of the afterlife. Is there life after life? This video is part 2 to my first video that I made on this topic. I'm going to go ahead and link it down below. That video has a lot of background information, and I also mentioned sources such as Mary Neal. She's an orthopedic surgeon at the University of Southern California, and she's also an author to her book, To Heaven and Back. I also mentioned Bruce Grayson. He's a psychiatrist and professor of psychiatric medicine and neurobehavioral sciences at the University of Virginia. He is also a near-death experience researcher. Now again, I strongly encourage you to check out that first video, because in that video I talk about these sources more in depth, and I talk about how ultimately all of these sources come down to the same conclusion about what it is that people experience during their near-death experience. Ultimately, they all experience the same thing. Now, one of the major sources that I talk in that video is Dolores Canyon, and I'm going to focus this video primarily on more of her research, because Dolores Canyon, I have found, is the one that has been able to attain the most information about the topic, and her research ultimately very much lines up with what the doctors and psychologists have to say. So when you have this information that lines up with the information that Dolores Canyon has been sharing for a lot of years now, it gives validity to the topic, in my opinion, and that is why I want to share that information with you here today. Now, a very brief background as to who Dolores Canyon is. Dolores Canyon was a hypnotherapist who specialized in past life regression. She was known to take clients from all over the world in this journey through hypnosis to find out and resolve issues from past lives that ultimately carried over to this life. Now, one thing she describes is that client after client after client, hundreds, thousands of clients throughout her lifetime. She did this work for many years. Again, like I was saying earlier, they all describe the same thing when they go through the death experience. Now, the very first thing I want to start out with that Dolores Canyon claims she has heard time and time and time again throughout her research and her visits with her clients is that there is no such thing as hell. There is no such thing as hell. Hell was a man-made construct primarily orchestrated by the church to instill fear onto people. She says that actually they've told her that Earth, if anything, is hell. She says, and I quote, "People hurt each other here." So there is no such thing as hell, okay? When you cross over, you are met with unconditional love. We all are. We are all part of Source, aka God. And when we cross over, we become one with Source, and we realize that all of this was a play all along. All of it was an illusion. All of it is merely finished in a second. That's what she says people realize when they cross over is, wow, it really was all a play. It really was all an illusion. Earth is ultimately a school. We come here to learn, to work out karma, and to elevate our frequency. We came here to experience and learn emotions and limitations. Those are the two main things. These things are not taught in other planets, she says. Okay, so when we cross over, she says that again, there are 3 astral levels that we can go to. There's subsections between the levels, but she says ultimately there's the major 3. She says that you go to the place that you are attuned to by your vibration and your frequency. The goal is to elevate a little more and more each time you come back, because mind you, you have reincarnated plenty of times. I know the topic of reincarnation, right? Another really controversial topic. In my opinion, yes, there is such a thing as reincarnation. With the rise of social media, we're also starting to see more and more people come forth with their stories on their past lives, specifically children. And that's because children are more tuned in. They have not been here long, and therefore they are not yet programmed into this matrix. And that is also why children are typically able to see things and hear things that adults typically can't. So Dolores Canyon says there are 3 levels: the lower astral, the middle astral, and the upper astral. Let's start with the lower astral. The lower astral is for souls that are very earthbound. Think people that were addicts in this life, alcoholics, people that were murderers, people that basically passed on being very low vibrational. She says that these people, when they first pass on, they have a lot of trouble accepting the fact that they have passed on. They typically still try to stay here because they don't know anything else outside of this earth. They never thought that anything else was possible outside of this earth. So that's why she calls them earthbound. She says that they will typically like hanging around other people that are also very low vibrational on this earth, such as alcoholics and people that are just overall very negative. Again, because they are like in frequency. So they want to come back to those habits. They try very hard to cling on to those people. But she says eventually after a while, and by the way, when they're doing this, they have their guide waiting there for them. All of us have a guide waiting for us when we cross over. We're never alone. Just like we're never alone here on earth and we don't even know it, we're also not alone when we cross over. They typically try to attach to low vibrational people to get the same feeling that they once felt through osmosis. The same feeling, the same pleasure, the same sensations that they felt when they were on earth. Now she says after a while they realize that they just can't get the same sensations because they're not in a physical body anymore. So eventually their guide says to them, all right, are we ready to go? Eventually they realize they have to go. When they cross over, she says they are met with love, much like everyone else is. They realize that they just simply lost their way. Now I know that this is very hard to take in. If you have someone in your life that has wronged you or did something very, very bad that you feel is almost unforgivable. But Dolores Canyon says everything is dealt with. She says everything is eventually dealt with. It all comes down to karma, aka the law of cause and effect. Yes, it is a universal law. All does eventually get dealt with. It has to. Now she says once they do cross over, they are typically required to attend certain schools to be able to clear their bodies of the negativity they carried over. Eventually, since most of them did not learn the lesson they came here to learn and kind of lost their way, they are given the option to reincarnate. And when you reincarnate, you come here to play out the same lesson until you learn it. That is the wheel of karma. In a bit, I'm going to explain how you can get yourself out of the wheel of karma so that you don't have to keep coming back and back and back and ultimately just being trapped in the wheel of karma over and over. Okay, so moving on to the middle astral. The middle astral is what most people reference as heaven. She says when people arrive at the middle astral, they are given their own idea of heaven. She says most people describe a forest or a place filled with nature and lakes, but ultimately whatever your idea of heaven is, that is where you will go to. If you want to meet up with family members that have crossed over, any family member at all, you are able to do that. Why? Because the soul is infinite. We all exist united at the end of the day. There is no separation. There's no separation even while we're here, but of course we do experience great limitation, right? So again, everyone is met with great love once they pass over. She says you're free to experience this idea of heaven, but eventually you are met with your guides again. They come to you and they say, hey, are you ready for your life review? I talk about the life review in my first video too. So again, I strongly encourage you to check that out if you're interested on that. I'm going to briefly touch on it here, but basically the life review is where they show you everything that you played out in your life, literally everything. Now, the most important thing she says is they play out big events in your life and specifically how you affected other people. They don't show it from your point of view. They show it to you from the point of view of the person that you affected. So that's where it hurts. She says, no one is there to judge you or bring you down. You are your own judge, and that's what makes it harder because no one judges you harder than yourself. So the elders and the masters, again, they show you the life review and they kind of counsel you as to what they believe would be best if you wish to come back and reincarnate to learn the lesson if you did not learn the lesson that you needed to learn in this life. Now she says if you did not learn the lesson, you typically get to talk to the other souls that you came to this earth with. Yes, even if they are still alive, remember, we are all one. We are able to communicate with these souls at all times, even while we're alive. Whether you're passed over, whether you're here incarnated, we can speak to them at all times. Of course, when we're over there, we all realize that we're all interconnected and all one. So we are able to do that there as well. And we basically agree on how we're going to come back and play out the roles again. Remember, this is all a play. We came here to learn. And that's when you talk to the other soul and say, okay, maybe that didn't work out too well. Maybe let's come back. This time I'll be the child, you be the mother, you be the father, you be a friend, I'll be this. You know, it's all roles. It's all a play. It's all just acting. That's what it is. Now, she says the reason why most people take a lot of lifetimes to learn a lesson is because when we're here, emotions take over. When we are there and we are being counseled, we are given a very direct plan and we ourselves come up with a plan for our lives. She says it's also straightforward once you're there, but the issue is that when you incarnate here, you forget the memories. They say that they told her it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers, right? You have to learn from experience. So we forget once we're here. That's why it's crucial for you to remember that you're an infinite being. And also, of course, you can do meditations to tune into your past lives and to learn lessons from there as well. Or you can consult psychics. She says another reason why it's so hard too is because we all have free will once we're here. We all come in with our plan. But the problem is that once we're here, all of those plans and paths clash with one another. So it makes it difficult. We have emotions, we have limitations, and we have free will. So everything kind of clashes. Everything becomes harder. Again, she says Earth is not an easy planet to come to. Okay, so this is the part where I want to explain to you guys, and she talks about this as well, how you can get yourself out of the wheel of karma, how you can stop reincarnating over and over and over for the same lesson. You will know that you've been here multiple times for the same lesson if you keep attracting people into your life that are showing you the same lesson. Something feels off, something feels wrong. This is when you might ask yourself, man, why do I keep attracting this type of person? Why do I keep attracting this type of lesson? It's for a reason. There's no such thing as coincidence. Remember that. Ultimately, it all comes down to forgiveness. When you forgive people and yourself, you help yourself clear that karma and heal yourself. I know, and I've talked about this before in my past videos, that I know it can be very difficult to forgive. I get it. If someone has wronged you and did something that hurt you so very much, I know it can be really hard to forgive. Some people believe, hey, they don't deserve my forgiveness. And you know what? Don't forgive until you're ready to forgive, by all means. But I do have to say that I believe, much like she believes, that forgiveness is the way to free yourself. When you forgive, you quite literally let go of that energy. You heal yourself from it. You get rid of that karma that you are carrying within you. Remember, law of cause and effect. So when you forgive, you are quite literally letting go of that resentment and that energy, which helps to free you and get you out of that wheel of karma. Remember, karma is what keeps you trapped. Okay, so we want to try our best to get rid of that karma, clear it up through self-work, forgiveness, and love. Ultimately, it all comes down to love. Okay, so my favorite place that she talks about, and this is a place that I have been told about as well in the past, and I have been shown during meditation. That is why when she mentioned this, it just literally goosebumps. My life has not been the same ever since. So in the upper astral, she says that is where you have the schools, the temple of wisdom, and the temple of healing. The library there has literally all of the knowledge ever known to mankind, all that ever will be. And that is where the Akashic records are as well. The Akashic records are basically records of everything everyone has ever lived, sacred knowledge, basically information about everything. But yeah, she says the temple of light and healing are there. Now, something they told her is that we all actually go there during dreams and meditations. Your body gets tired, but your soul doesn't. Your soul gets out of the body and goes to explore every time you sleep. That is why a lot of us recall beautiful sacred spaces in our dreams, being told about sacred knowledge in our dream. Even if you don't consciously remember it, that knowledge is subconsciously with you. Talking to loved ones that have passed on during your dream states, flying during dream states. This is not a coincidence, right? A lot of us share these same experiences. So again, when everyone's experiencing the same things, very similar experiences, there has to be something there, right? She also talks about the tapestry room. So the tapestry is basically a tapestry that is never ending, and it is made up of a lot of threads, infinite number of threads, right? And those threads each represent your life. We all have a thread. So she says that is why we are all interconnected. Your thread and your actions have the capability of affecting a lot of people around you. They have the capability of quite literally changing the world, as I'm sure you may know. So that is why your life is so sacred, right? That is why your purpose is so sacred. We are all quite literally connected. Okay, so one thing she talks about that she wants people to know is that you are able to visit the temple of healing, even if you have not yet passed on. And when she talked about this is the part where I told you that my life has not been the same ever since, because I've actually been shown the temple of healing during meditations, and I have been told about how light therapy can quite literally help to heal your body of blockages and such. She also talks about people that passed on, that were in a lot of pain, lived with cancer for a very long time, were basically in a lot of bodily pain during their lifetime here on earth. The first place where they are taken to is the temple of healing, so that they are able to heal their energetic bodies from those really heavy emotions and pains. But again, she says you can go here Even while incarnated, you can go here during meditations, during dream states. You can ask for your angels to take you during dream states. So when you take yourself there during meditations, don't overthink it. Of course, it may take time to really build up the momentum of getting that help from your guides to be able to take you there and see things more vividly, get yourself in a really deep trance meditation. But even just laying down, going into a level of meditation that you're comfortable with at the moment, imagining healing lights healing your body. She says in the temple, the lights are at the dome, like on top of the ceiling, and it just emanates beautiful colors, beautiful colors. This is another thing I talk about in my first video, where people pass on when they first see their idea of heaven. And again, everyone describes the same thing. All of the doctors, all the psychologists, they all describe seeing beautiful otherworldly colors, otherworldly music that they would never have experienced here on earth. So imagining whatever color light you feel drawn to. I know for me, most of the time when I take myself there, it's a very vibrant like mix of white with blue with green. I just allow myself to be bathed in that light, and I kid you not, you guys, like literally 100% of the time I'll feel more soothed after taking myself there in my mind. Absolutely insane. But I'm sure at this point, I mean, if you're watching this video, I am positive that you already know of the potential that the mind has. She also says another thing that she asked the guides there is, well, if we are all able to come here as a soul to the temple of healing, to the library here in the upper astral, why can't we just come here to learn instead of having to incarnate over and over? She says they told her, well, think of it like chemistry, right? You can read about chemistry, but it's not until you actually get to the lab and start experimenting that you truly grasp onto the knowledge, right? Same with, for example, cars. You can learn about the parts and you can learn about how to put them together, but it's not until you get the hands-on experience that you truly grasp the knowledge, right? So again, it's all about the first-hand experience, actually experiencing the emotions, experiencing life here on earth. That's where it gets you. That's where it gets the most of us. So to just kind of wrap up this video, she says all you have to do while you're here in this incarnation is try your best with what you've been given. As long as you do your best with what it is that you came here to do with your life purpose, that's all you've been asked to do, my loves, okay? Don't give yourself such a hard time. If you have someone that has passed on, trust that they have been welcomed in with the utmost love. Trust that their soul is okay. Their soul deep down knows what it's doing. And again, once this is all over, literally in the blink of an eye, like they describe, we are all able to come together as one, okay? When we incarnate, it's just for soul evolution. But truly, at the end of the day, we are all one. We are interconnected. We are all part of God. We each have a piece of God within us. In a way, yes, we are all God. You are able to manifest and create your own life. And again, do the best with what you've been given. Pay attention to how you treat other people. Be kind, be loving. Trust that loved ones are fine. I said this in my last video, I'll say it again. I would much rather you honor their lives and celebrate their lives over you giving yourself a hard time about it. Trust that they are okay. They love you. I love you. And I hope that this information was able to expand your mind a bit about the topic. I wish you so much luck in your journey. Know that you are more supported than you will ever know. And I will speak to you again next time.